On an early morning on rolling hills, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the lingering mist, illuminating a vast lychee orchard, Tutien emerged with a face etched with quiet determination. The air here was filled with the intoxicating sweetness of ripe fruit and the moisture of morning dew, creating a peaceful and vibrant scene. Tutien stepped onto the moss-covered, bumpy path, wearing a knitted cap over her eyes, like the other workers tending the same grove. Their hands moved rhythmically among the branches laden with crimson lychees, showing their dexterity and familiarity with the work. She approached an old woman, who was skillfully pruning bunches of fruit with calloused fingers, a half-empty basket of lychees at her feet. Tutien greeted the morning in a hopeful but cautious tone, asking if she had picked lychees today. The old woman looked up, her eyes wrinkled with fatigue, and nodded in confirmation. Tutien's eyes were turned upward, following the branches laden with shiny berries that glittered like jewels in the soft light. She noticed some ripe lychees in her garden and asked if they were for sale. The woman paused, wiping the sweat from her forehead with a calloused hand, her hesitation evident. She said she was, but that this lot had already been taken, and if Tutien wanted, he could go up there and pick it himself. A spark of opportunity flashed in Tutien's chest, lifting her spirits. She expressed her desire to buy a whole basketful and asked if she could show her one. The woman pointed to a steep hill, her gesture firm, saying that Tutien could raise his head and pick the lot that had been mentioned. Though Tutien had adjusted her hat, the images showed a winding path that wound through the center of the orchard, surrounded by towering trees and scattered leaves. She asked the old woman if she had any scissors or a knife she could borrow, her voice polite but eager. The woman rummaged through her basket and handed her an old pair of scissors, the metal dull but still serviceable. Tutien smiled gratefully, saying she had brought her own rope so she didn't need a knife, and asked if she could show her the way up. The woman pointed vaguely toward a narrow path overgrown with vines, saying there was a small trail that went up that way. With a determined nod, Tutien began to climb, the scissors gleaming faintly in the dawn light as she gripped them. She told the old woman she would pick what she needed and return. The woman waved goodbye and returned to her duties. Tutien stood firmly on a sturdy branch, reaching for the top. The tree swayed gently under her weight as she began to cut the juiciest and freshest bunches. She muttered to herself that this tree was too tall. She might need to climb higher to get the best fruit. Her basket slowly filled with fragrant flowers, and she worked methodically, tying the bunches into neat bundles with her string. The image depicted the same careful bundling of other hands in the forest. After nearly 2 hours, her basket was overflowing with lychees, the leaves meticulously separated to reveal the perfect fruit beneath. Her arms burned with fatigue, but a wave of pride kept her going as she descended the hill, carrying the load down to the woman's humble home. The old, rusty scale groaned under the weight as she set it down with a thud. She greeted a man lying on the porch, his face hidden by a wide-brimmed hat. She asked the woman where she had gone, and he looked up lazily, scratching his stubbled chin, saying she was selling cloth at the market. A flash of disappointment crossed Tutien's face, but she pressed on resolutely. She said she had asked her earlier and picked the fruits herself, and asked if he could weigh them for her. The man slowly stood up, lifting the basket onto the creaking scale. The images showed a parallel scene of another person weighing. He announced that the basket weighed 22 kilograms, his voice serious. Tutien did a quick calculation in her head. Waving her hand in the air, the basket weighed about 1.5 kilograms, so 20 kilograms remained. She asked how much he owed. He scratched his chin thoughtfully, looking at the fruit she was selling for 10,000 dong a kilo, but because she picked it herself, it was only 6,000 dong. Her eyes lit up with relief. That was 120,000 dong. She handed over the crisp bills, and he pocketed them with a hum of acknowledgement. Thanks, and said he would let her know when she returned. Tutien smiled, lifting the basket with renewed energy. She said she was taking this to the market to sell, and asked if he could help her load it onto her bicycle. He was reluctant, but helped her, humming as he lifted. Then I'm going, be careful on the road, he said. She climbed onto the bicycle, the engine roaring to life, and said, thank you very much, I'm going. The orchard receded into the distance as she pedaled away. While Jack was busy with construction work, Tutien rolled into the bustling city market. The uploaded photos were filled with vibrant energy. Vendors were shouting their wares, buyers were bargaining, and colorful trees were fluttering in the wind, creating a bustling and vibrant scene. She unpacked her lychees, meticulously arranging them under a striped awning. The shiny red skin of the lychees caught the sun, attracting everyone's eyes. Within minutes, a crowd had formed around Tutien's stall. Children tugged at their parents' sleeves. The elderly looked on curiously, their voices blending into a lively buzz. A middle-aged woman with bright eyes asked the price of a kilogram of lychees with interest. Tutien replied warmly, 10,000 VND to try one if you like. She handed over a bunch of plump lychees with a friendly smile. The woman bites into the lychee, her face lit up with delight, and says, 2 kilos please. Tutien carefully weighs it on a borrowed scale, and it's 2.1 kilos. She rounds it down to 2 kilos and says, I'll take 2 kilos, which is 20,000 dong. The exchange goes smoothly, with the image of hands passing money and fruit in a rhythmic dance. A young man approaches, his voice familiar. Tutien smiles, recognizing him. Oh, I saw you there earlier. Are you looking at me? He grins, adjusts his hat, and says, I'm at a nearby location and passing by. He asks, the last bunch please. She hands it over with a giggle and says, 18,000 dong. Thank you. Then Jack appears in the crowd, holding a glass of cool orange juice, condensation dripping down the side of the glass. He said, Tutien, drink it. It's too hot. His concern was clear. She smiled warmly, patted her basket, and said, Thanks, but I have water here. He helped her pack the empty boxes, stacking them neatly. Jack commented, Sold out? Too fast. She nodded, wiped her eyebrows, and said, Yes, it expands quickly. People like them. He glanced around the bustling market and suggested, Buy a small scale for next time. It will save you trouble. Inside a cramped shop, the image showed a series of scales on display, their metal surfaces shining. She asked the shopkeeper how much they cost, and he replied, 50,000 VND, handing her a compact model. She paid and tried it with a bunch of lychees, nodded in agreement, and said, Thank you very much. Ready to go? Jack nodded and slung her bag over his shoulder. He said, Yes, I will take you home. On the way back, she thought aloud, I sold 20 kilos today, a good profit. Their conversation continued, weaving a stronger bond with each passing mile. The noise of the market faded into memory as the return trip wound down a dusty country road. The afternoon sun set low, casting long, jagged shadows across the dry ground. Far from the peaceful orchard, Jack was navigating the rugged terrain of a muddy construction site. Uploaded images showed workers laying bricks under an overcast sky. He opened his blueprints, the paper rustling as he inspected the half-raised wall. His sharp eyes scanned for flaws. A confident worker wiped the sweat from his forehead with his dirt-stained sleeve and said, Don't worry, we're being very careful with the job. Jack nodded firmly, his voice even. Okay, just make sure you follow the design I provided. The man grinned, adjusted his helmet, and said, Sure, boss. Jack surveyed the site further, the images showing a team hauling bags of cement, lumber, and tools across rough ground. He commented with a hint of approval in his voice, Hey, the progress is pretty fast. The worker chuckled, leaning on his shovel and saying, Thanks to the hard work of the team, they've been working since morning. Jack inspected the intricate frame of the Thai-style roof, his fingers tracing the lines on the blueprint. He said, The initial check looks solid, but make sure the roof matches the blueprint exactly, no shortcuts. The man agreed with a nod. Understood, we'll keep it precise. Jack scanned the bustling construction site and asked, How many workers do we have for this job? The worker counted on his fingers, his eyebrows furrowed. More than 10, but I'll split it in half for another site since this one is on track right now. Jack's eyebrows furrowed in worry. Keep a close eye on it. Fix any bugs now, it'll be a nightmare to adjust later. The man nodded seriously. Yes, I'll keep an eye on it. Jack rolled up his plans and tucked them under his arm. All right, I've checked enough. I'm going out. Thanks for the update. The man waved, returning to his duties. Take care. See you soon. As Jack continued to survey the site, he moved to a quieter corner. The images showed an older man watching from a distance, his posture stiff with authority. Jack asked the worker, his voice low, Has Mr. Dong checked the site recently? The worker sighed, shifted his weight, and replied, "Yes, occasionally." He added, "He's quite picky, retirement doesn't soften him." Jack understood, remembering the man's reputation. He said, "Then be more careful to meet his standards." Jack emphasized the importance of quality work. He wants this house to be as solid as a rock. The worker nodded and promised, "I'll keep the team on track and double-check everything." This showed that Mr. Dong had a significant influence on the quality and standards of work at the site. Jack's intention to open a company. As Jack and Tutien walked home after a busy day at work, their conversation continued. She thought aloud about that day, saying that she had sold 20 kilograms and made a good profit. She then asked Jack, "Are you really thinking about opening a company?" Jack smiled, still staring at the winding road, and replied, "Yes, I am seriously considering it. Maybe it's time for a new project." This clearly showed Jack's intention to develop his career and start a new business. Their journey continued, and their conversation weaved a stronger bond with each passing mile. Unexpected encounter with Father Fong. As Tutien and Jack continued their journey back, the noise of the market gradually faded into memory, replaced by the quiet of the dusty country road. The afternoon sun set low, casting long, jagged shadows across the dry ground. Suddenly, a sharp intake of breath from Tutien broke the silence. Her eyes locked onto a frail figure leaning against a gnarled tree, a bundle of firewood at her feet. The uploaded image revealed the haggard and exhausted face of Father Fong, her former father-in-law. Jack stopped the car. Tutien urged him to stop for a moment, his voice trembling with urgency. Jack braked hard, the tires skidding lightly on loose gravel. He asked Tutien what was wrong, what was going on. She pointed ahead, her fingers trembling. "I think it's Father Fong. I recognized him from afar." Jack squinted through the dusty windshield, his brows furrowed, and he said, "Really? Let me check." They hurried out of the car, the man's haggard, exhausted face captured. Tutien cried out, kneeling beside him, "Where have you been all this time, Dad?" The old man answered hoarsely, "I've been gathering firewood to sell. That's all I can do." Tutien frowned worriedly, carving deep wrinkles into his forehead. "Why in this heat? Dad, is it dangerous for you?" He shrugged weakly, his shoulders slumping. "I'm just trying to make a little money to live." Jack stepped forward, took a bottle of water from his pocket and said, "Hello, sir. Please have some water to cool down." Tutien knelt closer, her voice softened with worry. "Have you gathered firewood from down there by the stream?" He nodded slowly, his breathing labored. "Go down to the water's edge." Jack's voice became serious, his eyes narrowed. "Where are you now, sir? You can't be out here alone like this." The man hesitated, his eyes looking down at the dusty ground. "I'm down there in the sewer. That's where I am now." Tutien's heart sank. A gasp escaped her lips. "Down in the sewer? That can't be right." Jack opened the trunk with a decisive click. "Let's load the firewood in, sir. I'll take you to a safe place." The man protested, raising his weak hand. "No, I can take it to sell myself. It's okay." Tutien insisted. Her voice was both determined and gentle. "No, father, let me handle it. Where should I take you now?" He pointed down the slope with a trembling finger. "Down in the sewer, that's where I went." They drove to the location. The images depicted a dark, damp sewer with a stream of murky water seeping through. Tutien gasped, her hand coming to her mouth. "You're living down there. It's no place for anyone." The man nodded, his face resigned. "Yes, the summer is cool. It makes me comfortable." Jack's voice became urgent. "It's too dangerous, sir. The rainy season is coming and floods can happen any day." The man waved his hand with a tired shrug. "It's okay. I won't sleep much. Just rest a little." Tutien's eyes were filled with tears. Her voice broke. "What if the water floods at night? What will you do then, father?" He sighed heavily, his shoulders slumped even more. "Then I will have to endure it." This clearly shows that Bo Fong is in an extremely dangerous and unsustainable living situation, especially with the threat of the approaching rainy season. When Father Fong said that he would have to endure it because he had no other choice, Jack interjected in a firm tone. "Why not stay at Tutien's farm now? It's safer. We're in the process of repairing it, but it's still better than this." The man resisted, his voice full of guilt. "No, I don't want to bother you both too much." Tutien took his calloused hand, the grip warm and firm. "You helped me a lot when I was still part of your family. Let me repay you. Come with us, please." Jack added with a reassuring smile. "I'll find you some work if you want, sir. No need to worry about anything." Reluctantly, the man gave in, his resistance collapsing. "Okay, thank you both. I don't know what to say." They gathered his few belongings, a torn bag and an old blanket from the photos, and loaded them carefully into the cart. At the farm, the photos showed a damaged but sturdy cart. Its structure was made of walls scarred by past floods but still standing. Tutien let him in, her steps purposeful. This is safer than the sewer's father. Staying here now is a start. She explained with a sweep of her hand. The flood destroyed the kitchen a while ago, but we raised the ground to prevent more damage. Sit here and rest. Jack gently put the bag down, his movements cautious. He will be comfortable here, sir. Much better than the sewers. The man glanced around, his eyes taking in the rustic interior. Thank you, but my family has returned to the village. I don't want to burden them. Tutien nodded, her expression softening. Stay here temporarily then. The flood at night is too dangerous to ignore. He sighed, his determination weakening. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you both. This showed that Tutien and Jack had taken the initiative to help Father Fong by taking him back to the farm, a safer place than where he was living, and trying to convince him to stay there. As they were about to leave, Tutien pulled Jack aside, her voice whispering, "Thank you, Jack. Seeing him like this breaks my heart." She added in a pained voice, "I can't bear it." This clearly showed Tutien's deep compassion for Father Fong and her heartache at witnessing his difficult situation. She expressed strong emotions about Father Fong's situation, showing her care and concern for him. Jack squeezed Tutien's hand, his eyes determined, and said, "I understand. I would help anyone in his situation, especially knowing your history with him." Jack's words showed his deep sympathy and commitment to supporting Father Fong, not only because of his pitiful situation but also because of his previous relationship with Tutien. He not only helped with concrete actions such as taking Father Fong back to the farm, but also reassured Tutien, affirming that he would be a support for both of them in this situation. Jack's support was also clearly shown when he told Father Fong, "I will find you some work if you want, sir. No need to worry about anything." This offer showed that Jack not only wanted to help Father Fong escape from the dangerous situation before him, but also wanted to create opportunities for him to have a more stable life in the future. He wanted Father Fong to not have to worry about financial burdens or jobs, giving the old man peace of mind. They climbed back into the car, the farm offering a fragile new beginning for Father Fong. Their compassion, especially Jack's, became a beacon against the looming threat of the rainy season. Jack was not only a companion but also a solid support, willing to share the burden and bring hope to Father Fong and Tutien. This reinforced the image of Jack as a responsible, understanding person who was willing to help those around him.